Well, hi again, guys. Good to be back with you again. I've been looking through some of the notes that I have about the 1908 season from when I began this project. And I do have a file that I created. Wow, it's almost a year ago. It was around Christmas time last year. You're watching this, of course, after Christmas time because I'm a little bit ahead. And this file was a list of problems that I noticed with the Diamond Mine Baseball 1908 season. There were 7 players that I found that either were not created in the game or were listed on the wrong teams entirely. One of the key ones is a guy named Deacon McGuire. So Deacon McGuire, and I'm looking through this, he actually is in the game. He's listed on the Indians, which is interesting. Deacon McGuire starts the season off as the manager for the Boston Red Sox. So if we look over here, we can see on the Cleveland Naps roster, here's McGuire. He's green, and he's listed as having 1 game, 4 at-bats in real life, which is a problem because that's not what actually happened. So when we open up the good stuff here, I'll close all of this over to the side. Here is Deacon McGuire. We will make him nice and big. There he is with his old Washington hat from the old National League days of the Washington Nationals. We look at 1908, and we can see that actually he played in a game for Boston as well as in a game for Cleveland. Now, when we go over here to his Sabre bio, it says here, in 1908, McGuire continued as manager of the Red Sox. So he's the manager of the Red Sox at the beginning of the season, with a record of 53 and 62 before being replaced. He batted in 1 game, going 0 for 1. He was released by the Red Sox, then he was signed the following month by Cleveland, played in 1 game, and went 1 for 4. Right, so we can go take a look at this and see. So we'll go over here to his game log. This is the cool part, right? We can see here he was in Boston, and then, yeah, a month later, at some point in time, he this is like the last game of the season he plays for Cleveland, and he played the full game, right? So usually if you see something like that happen back in 1908 or so, like the whole team or almost the whole team is going to be made up of players who were part-timers. Now, it's clearly not the case here because we know about Napoleon, we know about some of these guys, but some of these guys are also definitely not first-team type players. Before that, though, he did play in this August 24th game for the Red Sox. And it doesn't say here exactly how he got. Oh, he was a pinch hitter at the end of the game. Well, we happen to have a way of looking this up. Apologies. And so we'll take a quick look here. Go over to Massachusetts. Go to Boston. Boston Globe. I am signed in. Please tell me I'm signed in. August 25th, 1908. Let's see what we can find. August 25th, and we'll just take a quick look here and see what we can come up with. So there were exciting horse racing finishes. Isn't it funny how I look at this thing about exciting horse racing finishes, and I think this doesn't mean anything, who cares? But when you talk about like the baseball pages, I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. I need to make a video about it. I wonder if there isn't somebody making a video about the horse racing of 1908. Anyway, yeah, Red Sox never had a chance to get away with the game. Another win for the Red Sox. That's not really what I care about. What I care about is, do we see any mention of Deacon McGuire here? Yeah, McGuire keeps Wood in. Right, Wood gets out of a hole. Chicago got 2 more runs. Steele goes into pitch. And yeah, I'm not seeing that he was even mentioned anyway. So it looks like, see, McGuire does show up as a pinch hitter at the very end of the game. Little did they know that that was going to be his only plate appearance for Boston. I mean, he was, how old was he again? He was an old man that season. Let's see here. He was 44 years old. So he's probably just calling his own number because he needs somebody to pinch hit, and he thinks, well, maybe I can hit this guy. Clearly, he was not able to. And that was sort of the end for him. Yeah, there's not much information here. It just sort of goes through, this is the Boston half of the 8th inning. They decided not to say much about the 9th inning. So, yeah, each side being retired in order in the 9th inning, and that's it. So anyway, not much information there, unfortunately. And McGuire then, after a while, was released. We can probably even figure out when he was released if we wanted to. Look at his manager statistics. We're not going to worry too much about that, though. The only other thing I'm really curious about is this Cleveland at St. Louis game. Now, we don't have the Cleveland newspapers here, but we do have the St. Louis newspapers, so we can kind of get something. Let's see if we can figure out what was going on with that one. So we scroll down here, we find St. Louis. There we go. We're going to scroll on through to probably the Post-Dispatch, which is a pretty safe paper. This was what, October 6th, so we go to October 7th, and we'll just sort of look through this and see if we can find where they're talking about the sports. Usually we're after the editorial page, but not always. I might be wrong. It looks like I am definitely wrong today, so we'll go back here to page 9876. There we go. There's the American League flag for the Tigers. Fans satisfied with ruling on tied game. You know what that's about. That's about the Merkel incident. Very interesting. But that's not what we're looking for right now. We're looking for the game that was played before. Remember, this is the very end of the season. And so there should, at least in theory, be some sort of article about how the Browns lost. But I'm not seeing one. We may have to go look at another newspaper. That's just sort of what happens sometimes. Let's see if we can find something that's going to be helpful. That will not be it. You think that I would pay attention to all the research that I had done on newspapers, say in St. Louis and stuff. I forget which one is which. And this, by the way, is one of the problems with newspapers.com. It'd be nice if I could just look for all of the newspapers that have pages on a certain day, instead of having to click through every single newspaper and be like, oh, well, it's not the Evangelist. Oh, is it the Globe Democrat? Yeah, it'll be the Globe Democrat, of course. Always the last one that you look at. So we'll look at this here. Yeah, I think the Post-Dispatch may have been, Wednesday evening. It was an evening paper, so we looked at the wrong day. I should have looked at the day before. And so you live and learn. It doesn't really matter. And let's see what we can find here in the Globe and Democrat. Here we go. Browns lose final game 5-1. Yeah, it may have been one of the whims of fate. I'll zoom in on this. But the man who broke up the game for Cleveland was no less a personage than Deacon Jim McGuire, who was on first, his two-base drive in the ninth, putting the game beyond recovery for the Browns. Yeah, so not only did Deacon McGuire play in that game, but he wound up getting a double the last game of the season, helping Cleveland win. I'm not sure what the story is behind him signing for Cleveland. That sounds like a real odd signing for the Cleveland Naps, especially since I'm pretty sure that this team had a manager the whole season. Yeah, it was Napoleon LaJoie. And so, I don't really understand why they decided to pull on this old guy. Maybe they thought that he could give them a little bit of help. But it doesn't make very much sense, right? Because the truth is that, he wasn't playing for the Red Sox. He was the manager, right? In fact, he played a little bit in 1907 for them as well. But, a guy who's 44 years old is probably going to be your manager. Anyway, if you go back and look through Deacon McGuire, he did manage finally for Cleveland in 1910. Whoever did this research, I see here. He replaced Napoleon for part of 1909. It looks like he was in for the final 39 games of the season, then did a poor job in 1910 managing, and then resigned in early 1912, and then became a coach in 1911, and then in 1912 became a coach for Detroit and managed to get into one more game there. So that's kind of what happened. And that sort of explains why he was able to play again at age 48 and get a couple base hits too. How about that? Single base hit and 2 at-bats. Not too shabby. So anyway, that's the long and sort of long-winded story about Deacon McGuire. He's not the only player who's like this. There are other guys that we can look at as well. It's just pretty interesting stuff, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily show up in old seasons. There's a lot of stuff that can go missing if you're just going straight off of what Baseball Reference tells you, right? It's pretty interesting to go look at these guys and to think about this and to think, wow, man, this team like completely got rid of its manager, and he went and signed for another team, and he ended up playing in a game, right? Even though the other team already had a different manager. Kind of crazy stuff. So anyway, there you have it. Hope you're doing all right. I'll talk with you again later. Bye.